Sacred Sojourners, a space where we gather around the fire for storytelling.
This is a journey of spiritual awakening, learning to trust in the universe and aligning to our highest path.
It's through our voices from the perspective of the masculine and the feminine, which is the real life dance between us, where we are going to share stories about our journey, our triggers, our love, all as we walk with the universe, not against it.
Zan and I are two souls having our human experience who are walking through the fire together with our three dogs. And now we're inviting you in to witness. If you've been feeling the pull to awaken,
Then you can finally start to trust.
and then to align to your highest good.
Now, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Hey there, everybody. We're so excited to welcome you back to the fire. This is the Sacred Sojourners podcast, and I am your co-host, Zan Kavanaugh.
And I'm your other co-host, Troy Halkner. And we look forward to being with you guys tonight as we sit around the campfire.
Are you ready to light the fire, sweetie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
So this is episode 4 for us, and we are getting our flow on, which synchronistically is the topic of tonight's conversation by the campfire. If you have spent time listening to any of our other podcasts, you'll know that we have been cracking down on understanding our own inner beings in order for us to live a more divine union and more connected with ourselves and with each other. And it has been a bit of a challenging time. Thank you, Firehorse Year. But we're happy to say that something shifted. And this is going to be a great conversation for those that are listening, thinking, oh my gosh, trauma work is going to be so hard. I don't want to do it. But I think it's the rewards that come from it is what we're going to share with you tonight, and the freedom of it. I know that you're excited, honey, to talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. As it was, we went through it this week and it just was so magical. So magical. You know, finally coming to align with the universe, understanding, walking with the divine, paying attention to my spirit guides, working through some of the past trauma, the stuff that's in my life that has affected the way I live, and finally seeing fruits from all of that. Yeah.
So we'll set the stage. So this weekend, and it's been a long time coming. We've known about this for months. And for me, as we were both going through our discoverings, I kept counting down till this weekend because I was going to fly to Phoenix for my friend's wedding, and my family happens to live in Arizona, and Troy, being my new boyfriend, was going to come with me. So it was a big weekend, and I really needed it to go well for me after, some time that's been just challenging, right? We have a challenging world out there. We're building our travel trailer out for our journey. There's just a lot of things going on. We've been working through our own stuff. And so I really needed it to be a good weekend. And this week before was still chocked full of challenges and triggers, even though you were doing the work. And so I'm just curious, do you think that that was just like a discharge? Do you think that it was like last ditch efforts of the ego? Like, do you think it was like you were nervous to go on this trip that was kind of kicking up old dust?
I think that could have been some of it, being nervous about the trip, meeting your friends and folks that I don't know. Us coming from two different worlds. You come from Southern California and kind of I don't know what you'd call it, just a total different lifestyle than the old country boy back here in Florida. Grew up in the sticks and, city life and all that stuff. But it's just a different world. The unknown of it is unsettling, I guess. And, I probably did allow that to come in and affect me in a negative way more than it should have.
And at that point, right before we were going, I was just really firm in my boundaries and holding my own space. And, at that, I was like, either way, you want to come with me? Cool. If you don't want to come with me, that's fine too, because I was going. There was no, I wasn't going, but it was tense a little bit before we went, and I think we both felt like this weekend really needed to be something that brought us back together, but not forced. Like, I think you were nervous because you thought I was going to, you said cold shoulder you.
Yeah, again, just the unknown. It was just the unknown. Probably some self worth in there.
Mm.
I don't stack up against people in California.
Uh,
I
uh,
don't, Heather, she was from California. Your brother, your mom, but it's all good. In all honesty, that's still more work that needs to take place
mm.
because I am worthy to and can stack up to anybody.
Yeah. So we pushed through.
Push through.
And little do we know that was it Friday that we were on our way there was going to be a new moon into Aries. And I don't know if anybody's following the zodiac, but as you come to your awakening, which we have talked about in the past, astrology is a big part of it. Right. I mean, astrology is the chart of the stars from when you were born. And it's not just like your horoscope. It is a life path. Like it's a map of your life. And so it's there to guide us and to allow us to get on the right course correct. And so Aries is about the beginning, not the past. No permission, no identity yet. And it's really about understanding your core frequency, which leads me to once we were like on the road and we were going, I said, "All right, babe,
Hmm?
this is like your boot camp is over." Like,
He literally said, "Man up."
right, right, right. Like we are in it. And it was cool because I was like, okay, let's see. Let's see if he really was paying attention and understands because, this was this massive opportunity for flow. And let me just paint a picture. So for the last 3 years, I have been traveling for my job and, I have to drive an hour and a half to Jacksonville from where we live. I have to park my car. I get on the plane. I have to get the right seat. I always check one bag because I'm a girl and I have a lot of stuff.
Mm.
And then I get there and I have to get a rental car. And then I always have to go to Whole Foods or some kind of organic store and get all my groceries. So I feel I can, eat healthy when I'm there. And so I'm used to just traveling by myself, but I have mastered flow when it comes to travel because your frequency, the vibration of which you vibrate at, which is based on your joy and your happiness and where you are in your heart is what's going to shape the world around you.
Yeah.
And so I know I have activated flow. So it was kind of a test for Troy because if he was not going to be able to understand flow, like it could have been hard for us because it's like one of those things like you got to keep up
You're
because
right.
that this is where I shine. Like, and I love being there because what you curate in your reality when you're in flow is so beautiful. So we're going to talk about that. So I said that, okay, here we go. This is what we're going to do as we go. And so what was your experience from we parked the car, we went through TSA, we sat down, we got on the plane.
So what was my experience? It was very much like you're talking about, flow. Everything just happened. I mean, we got out of the car, went up to the bus stop that picks us up, and as we're walking up, there's the bus pulls up right at the
Right.
right time. We went all the way through the airport.
No hiccups.
No hiccups. Go right to the tram. Got on the tram. Got off the tram, got our tickets, went through the TSA inspection, and
Change planes.
changed planes, just a whole experience. And it was cool the way that worked out that way. And, and I'd like to tell the audience, you know, as we was in the car, if you remember, you set the intention for all of that.
Hmm.
Setting the intention for your day is so important. So
Yes.
important. Setting your intention and you set the intention for that. And it was kind of like being in a bubble and we just went where we needed to go and things just were lining up for it everywhere we went. Being at that, like you said, that frequency, that vibration. That's the thing I thought a lot about was, used to I'd hear stuff like that and I was very standoffish, stiff-armish to it. But if you look in scripture, you'll see where Jesus was always in flow. Everywhere he went, he was never in a rush. He was never a one-track mind. Whatever came into his reality, he worked with it and he operated with it. And I really learned a lot from that this week, being in flow. Just I'm a one track mind kind of guy. I got something, and my track can't change. If it changes, that's the end of the
Yeah, yeah,
world.
yeah. Well, the perfect
But
space and
that is
time.
not flow. That is not flow.
We
Yeah.
had the air come out of the tire on the
Don't
way to the
understand that.
airport.
No, we're on the way to the airport. That,
Yeah.
that the tire buzzer on the car goes off. So I pull over, get out the air pump it up. And I said, okay, we ain't but 10 minutes from the airport. We'll make it that far. And we made it to the airport.
Because we had plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
So that's the other thing I want to talk to is that the perfect space and time. And I've said that to you multiple times. And it's because you can't rush anything because the universe, and we talked about this earlier, like the universe is trying to gift you always. And if you can set the intention like, okay, I got to obviously be on the plane at such and such time, but you don't have to get crazy about it. And how many people do that, right?
Yep.
They get so insanely committed to being they're doing this at that time. If you just allow things to go with the flow and trust that everything will work itself out. Now, that being said, if you're stressed, if you're angry, if you're worried, you create and you drop down. So think about it like you drop your frequency down to a much lower rate. Now you can have things that can happen to you that will cause you to be delayed.
And we saw that woman and her husband, and she was frantic and panicked and high strung, and then once we got, I mean, they just happened to be getting on the same plane as we did. Once we got there, she stayed in that state, and then she was 30 minutes early. She stayed in that panic state, that of being late, of things not going to go as she wanted them to.
Right.
And I don't know if you caught up on that. I didn't speak to you about it, but
no, I mean, I think that's part of, we talked about awakening in our previous episodes, and it's really about kind of shifting the way that you operate, being more grounded, being more connected to yourself instead of that external. That's how the trip started. And it was so great. We landed into Phoenix. We got a car, even though the car was late. Like they didn't have cars, but we got a car. That was great. Went and got groceries. The grocery store was still open. We got a room that was a second away from where we exited and entered the building. Like,
yeah.
it was all so beautiful. And so then we were supposed to go visit my mom on that Friday, and my brother suggested that I don't because she wasn't feeling well, and we didn't really have any plans, and we had to be at the rehearsal dinner by 5:30. And so we decided, because Troy had never been to Sedona. He'd never been to Arizona, actually.
No, first time to Arizona.
So there was probably a lot of excitement for you, too.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, seeing new places, and it is exciting.
And so we set our intentions, and because we're on the opposite time zone as East Coast, we were up early, and we decided, okay, we'll go to Sedona. And the rules for the trip were no rules. We were just gonna see what wanted to show up.
Right. And that's never been anybody listening. That's never been the way I've lived. I've never thought about living life in flow, seeing what comes up, being interrupted with something that could be divine. How many times could we miss that opportunity because we're not in flow? We're not staying aware, having the intention set to be aware of an interaction that could come to us. Scripture says that we entertain angels sometimes. How many times have I blowed an angel off because I'm on my one-track mind and the divine shows up for me, but yet I miss it because of that? And she set that intention. She said that before we left to go to Sedona. And it's just a new way of life for me. But I can tell you this, it's so much more peaceful, so much more relaxing. You just go with the flow. You go and see what shows up.
And we also want to talk about the other thing you had said before we get to the Sedona trip is that abundance is all around, right? So when you're vibrating in a higher frequency, it's easier for you to attract prosperity, abundance, and fun things to happen to you because you're in total allowance. And you said that you had never done that before. And then there's that trust, right? Trust coming in of the totality of how all of these matrix pieces work together.
Yeah. You said trust, that walking by faith, not by sight. All of that working together. You think about just like things happening. Last week, walking the dogs. We're walking down the street, walking the dogs. I've got a halt to a leash, and I look down, and there's a $20 bill laying in the grass in the ditch. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, free money, just right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's part of being in that ease state. You know, the universe allowing things to come to you that way. When you're all jacked up, you ain't looking. You got that panic state, that one way mind, and you miss it.
And so why did you want to go to Sedona?
Well, I've heard so much about it as far as the energy that's there, the spiritual energy that's there. I wanted to go for clarity and to be able to experience it. You know, just to see what people talk about when they go to Sedona or Shasta, Mount Shasta. And I just wanted to be able to experience that, see it for myself.
And the last time I was in Sedona, I got kicked out. Basically, like sometimes energy will kick you out. So I hadn't been there in a long time. So I wasn't attached to it, but I didn't ever see like anything so awesome about it. But this was a different trip, you know? And so a lot of times from my spiritual experience is that when you get to a highly attuned or vibrational space, your stuff will start to come up,
Yep.
right? So you're starting to move, you're starting to integrate and release, activate all these aspects of yourself. And so we had just come off, you know, we've been clearing, and working so much to release so much out of both of us. And in one of the previous episodes, I had talked about how I felt I needed to earn love. And on the way up to Sedona, we were talking, and I had an aha moment of how I make people earn love for me, and that is my greatest asset. And so I can be very stringent with it and don't let people in and very guarded. Once you're in, you're in. But, you know, if you cross that line and you hurt me, like it's very hard to get that back. And so I had this aha moment, and I'm like crying, and I'm just releasing all this energy before we go, which
Right.
was, I think, so important for what came next. And so we pull into Sedona after 2 hours of just wonderful conversations, talking on the way up there, and we had no idea what to expect. And so we pull in the first Mystic Crystal Shop. It's this giant pink building, and they have all these beautiful crystals in there. It was a little high end, and immediately this woman who comes up, who's intuitive, starts talking to us and telling us stuff about ourselves, and we were like, okay. And I was looking at rings and necklaces and crystals, and I had been looking for an engagement ring for kind of a while because Troy and I had been talking about it, but I didn't have anything to try on, and I'm very particular about my crystals and what I wanted. And so I tried on a bunch of rings, and then I found this one ring that I absolutely loved that was amethyst and citrine in this beautiful cut. And I showed him, and he saw how excited I was.
I noticed.
You noticed. And so then I was just running around the store, and then we got our auras read. And if you don't know what an aura reading is that you put your hand on this sensor technology with your fingers, and then it reads the field, right?
Hmm.
The field around you, because you thought that your chakras were out, but that wasn't the case.
No, not at all. It was pretty neat to learn how that works, and my chakras were spot on for where we're headed and what we're doing. You know, that was the first time I've ever done that.
And so were you receptive to that? Were you like kind of tripping out a little bit? Like, what is going on? Or how did you receive that?
Oh yeah, I was absolutely. I was receptive. I was open. You know, one thing I've come to understand, and I have learned through my awakening. You know, I had so much spirituality confined within the box because of the church and the church that I was affiliated with. Not just one building, but I'm talking about being affiliated with the religion that I was in. But I have come to, you know, there's so many other avenues of searching for spirituality in your life that if you'll just open the door and allow it to happen, like nature speaking to you, seeing the significance of animals coming to you, crossing in front of you, uh, just opening your awareness to other things that way. And just like having my chakra looked at and the field around me. And yeah, I was open to it.
Yeah, and they were actually like the ladies in the store were like, "Wow, look at his coloring." They were like kind of
Yeah.
like bragging on you, even though I'm the more historic spiritual person. That's what's funny for me. And mine was great too. Mine was also bright, but I had some areas that I had worked on. Mine was my communication was too heavy. Like she said, it was more masculine, right? More in that protective mode and not more in my vulnerable, like soft feminine, which is interesting because that's what my messages was from the mountain. And so they told us that Troy should go to Jerome, which is a little town also in Arizona, and that I should go to Bell Rock. She just said to me, like, okay, you just need to go there and you just need to put your hand on the mountain. And I said, all right, that's cool. Let's do that.
Mhm.
Because it was a hike. And then, there's all the tourists and people there. And so it was fun. It was like a journey, right? So how
Right.
did you feel about that? We were just like, you were like totally in the unknown. You had no idea what we were doing. And we're just following flow.
Follow and flow.
And were you getting signs? Because you were leading me, and so I was just curious, like, what was that like for you as you're going on the mountain, being in the unknown, but also knowing, like, we wanted to find a cool place to meditate?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did think about how I wanted to get up there to meditate. I wanted to spend some time in nature, seek guidance from my spirit guides, and tap into the divine. But what come to my mind was Stone Mountain and how hard that was for someone to climb up Stone Mountain. So I was actually kind of looking for the easiest way up.
Good, thank you, honey, I appreciate that. Said Stone Mountain, he said, "Oh, it's not really like a steep hike." If anybody knows Stone Mountain in Georgia, it is.
When you go up the walking side,
Yes, it is
yeah,
steep, and we had 3 dogs.
yeah, 3 dogs with us.
Yeah.
It was all good. I really didn't remember it being as steep as it was, and kind of a hike. I mean, you got to be pretty good shape.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between going up at 55 to when you was 30.
Yes.
So
And we still think that we're 30 or 25. So we start going up and I'm just following him because this is his first time and I'm just trusting that his guidance will lead us to the perfect spot. And so he finds this clearing up on the top. We can oh God, it was so beautiful.
beautiful, beautiful.
Just if you have not been to Sedona, it's definitely on the bucket list. And so we sit down and Troy busts out our meditation music, which was so great. And we both sat down and we decided to meditate. And what happened for me was I um, had some elder women come in behind me and tell me that it was time for me to be the full wisdom keeper that I have earned, that this lifetime has brought me to this point and it's time for me to share my message. And not any particular message, but it was just to be standing in the who I am as a sister. And then more women came in and it was just this very feminine, beautiful circle. And so I have never had that experience before and it was really super beautiful. And so then the music stopped and then I'd love to hear your experience in that moment as well.
Well, I dropped in. There is such thing as heaven on earth. That's where I was. It was beautiful. It was cool up there in the mountains a little
Yeah.
bit, and the sun was shining, and I just got lost in the vast of creation and how beautiful it is, and how nature is made for us. And as I sat there, more just with a grateful heart of being able to be a part of that, a heart of gratitude. As I sat there with that, and then the music stopped.
Hmm.
I just had a hit, to do something. And
What does that mean for people who don't understand what a hit is?
okay, the first time it happened to me, if you remember, I was coming home from work. I was in my dump truck, and the thought came to my mind: I need to go buy some flowers. I want to go buy Zan some flowers, but I didn't act on it.
Mm,
That was a hit.
right.
That
Your
was intuition.
intuition.
And here she is sitting at the house about the same time, hoping I was going to bring some flowers home.
Mm,
So I've started paying attention to those thoughts that come into my mind automatically, and realizing, those are hits. I call them hits.
Yeah.
Paying attention to my intuition.
Yeah. Your guidance is giving you direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's the inner authority that
Yeah.
we're all about.
See, if I would have paid attention to that one, I could have come home a hero instead of ending up being the zero with no flowers. But it was all good. She's understanding, and that really blessed there. But yeah, as I finished my meditating on the mountain, I got a hit. Totally unexpected. I saw the ring that she just absolutely fell in love with. I kind of bought it without her knowing, I think. After she showed it to me, she oohed and awed over it. You know how women do when they see something they love like that. And then she walked off, so I handed it to the lady at the counter. I bought the ring and had the ring with me at the mountain, on the mountain. The hit that I had was to propose to her, to ask her to join my journey and for us to join journeys together in this life. And so I did.
Yes, you did.
I did.
Tell us what you said.
Well, what did I say? I said a lot, word for word, verbatim.
No.
No, I just told her. I found her to be the most amazing woman in the world, and that I would love to spend the rest of my time with on the journey of seeking things spiritually together. I love the way that we interact that way. It's not just a girlfriend. It's not just a lover. It's a partner in going deeper spiritually. That's probably one of the number one aspects of our relationship that I love the most. Why not fulfill that and go all the way and to have that life partner with that?
Yeah. And it was funny because I didn't expect that was going to happen right then and there. Like, if you did get the ring, but it actually was so incredibly perfect because we were in Sedona and we were on this mountain and it was a spiritual place and it was a place for us to anchor it. And so in my brain, I was like, wow, this is it. This is the thing. This is happening right now because I've only been married once and I'm not somebody to rush in to something. I don't need to do something that's not 100% going to be a sacred union.
Mm,
That's what I want. That
yep.
is what I have waited 14 years for, is somebody who is my equal, who can walk this path with me. And after all that we've been through, it's kind of what I wanted, but I wasn't really ready for it when it
Mm-hmm.
happened. It's funny because I'm going to talk about it in a little bit about this Aries new moon and what that means. It's about taking action and leaving the old self behind. And I think that was a lot of what was happening is like, you're living from this old identity and this old perspective, this fairy tale, oh, it needs to be this certain way. And Troy and I have never done anything traditional.
Mm-mm.
Like everything in our relationship is, okay, should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. It scares us. Let's do it. Okay, no, all right, now we're good. All right, let's try something else. And we just kind of do this funny little dance because we're still teenagers at heart. And it was beautiful. And so we hugged and kissed and allowed it to drop in. And then people were like kind of starting to come at that point. So I get up and I turn around and there's a giant heart carved in the mountain that we hadn't seen before. And so that is the perfect example of being aligned. You are in alignment when you're not even trying and those magical things happen. So this heart is carved on the mountain and then this blue jay flies by and like kind of like almost hits us. Like literally he
Right.
came like
Right in front of us.
yeah, he like came. So I looked it up and one of the meanings is the symbol of loyalty. Blue jays often mate for life, reflecting loyalty and commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritually, they maybe appear to remind you to honor your relationships or to stay true to your values. And a blue jay could be a sign to nurture connections that matter most. So I was like, yes, animals, birds talking to us. And then this giant lizard walked by. And I just remember taking a moment to really look all around and realize like, wow, this is like really happening right now, right here on Sedona. And I think that it was a turning point for us because we're not just walking this walk without actually talking the talk. Like we're not
Right.
talking the talk, excuse me, and walking the walk. Like we are literally doing the work and getting into that higher frequency in that zone is it. And so now we're engaged
Yeah. Engaged.
and going on our journey in a month and a half. No, like 5 weeks. Yes. And so how did you feel after that?
A lot of emotion. I mean, I felt good. Understanding how flow works better.
Mm.
That was, anybody. I want everybody that's listening. Think about that. Think about used to. I would go into a town, when I was vacating, I'd go into a town. I was always very tight with money. I don't want to spend $1 because a dollar's hard to come by. But Zan has taught me, and this is part of being in flow. She has taught me I work from what I have. I work from my abundance. I don't work from my poverty.
Mm.
In other words, there's two, it's like there's a double-sided person. When you look at how you're blessed, you can work from that side of yourself instead of working from the poor side. That thinking, oh, I can't spend $1 right here.
Mhm.
And it's not just about money. It's about being in the aligning with the right frequency. And as we've started doing that, things have just started automatically happening and coming and working. It's just like my semi. Anybody's ever drove a semi, owned a semi, worked on a semi, when you have a semi, you gonna work on it. They come off the showroom floor, and it ain't long till you working on it. And but in the last since October, I hadn't had to turn a wrench on my truck.
Mm.
I've got up and went out there, hit the key. It's just, and usually that's a once a week deal. This is, this air valve went bad. I got to change that. This slack adjuster tore up. Let me change that. I mean, just
Mm.
normal wear and tear stuff. But since October, I ain't had anything going on. And that's just because of running at a different frequency and everything. How can it work out far greater than I can imagine?
Well, yeah,
Right there.
that's it. I mean, flow is participation without resistance,
Yeah.
right? It's in the allowance. And I will say that when Troy was with his last girlfriend, he got in a major accident.
Totaled my semi.
I
Yeah.
asked him, I was like, what happened during that time? Because generally, when you have an accident, either number one, you're not present,
I
or number
wasn't present.
and number two, your frequency is low. And let me explain this in a way where you're thinking, oh my gosh, this chick is so woo. But when you're vibrating, okay, at a lower frequency, and let's pretend that I have a harp in front of me, right? And the highest note on the harp is like ding 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 ding, and the lowest note is no 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 no, right? So the lowest note is anger, fear, worry, jealousy, doubt, okay? Then as you creep up and up, the highest note is joy, gratitude, and love. And now all those notes in between are just variations of that. So when you're vibrating at that low, what are you attracting? Other people that are low,
Low.
other activities that are low, right? So that is like a perfect example. And I didn't make that up. That actually came channeled from the Pleiadians, which
Mhm.
is a galactic race. Definitely look them up because they're awesome. And you get to that high vibration, which is joy, and then everything match to your vibrational frequency. So the chances of you getting in an accident, the chances of something happening to you when you're in that high state of joy is very slim. And what have I been telling you all along? That this life is a game.
It's a game.
And your number one priority is what?
Fun and rewarding.
And keeping your frequency high.
Yep. Energy. Keep your energy high, your frequency high.
No matter what, you could be washing the dishes, you sing, whistle, have fun, because it's not the action at that moment, but it is what it comes after. As long as your vibration is high, and then look, you can't always do that, right? Like
Right.
especially when you're doing trauma work, that's very difficult. It's very difficult for us to keep our vibration high during that.
Mhm.
So this was such a beautiful weekend to get out of our element, right? So that would be some advice I would say if you're having a hard time, get out of your space. Get out into the world where you can live in the unknown, in that newness of
Mhm.
each moment where you're excited like a little kid because it's like even you're just go to the next town, do something different. That will shift you. The other thing is that this weekend was the new moon. So he actually proposed to me on the new moon, which is in Aries. And what that actually means, it's a reset point of the entire zodiac. And so it activates radical self-leadership. So it's not about healing anymore. We're done processing. At some point, you have to become the person.
Right.
That's what this new moon was about. So we both had to become the person on that
Mm-hmm.
Friday. It's breaking identity loops. Aries doesn't ask who you were, it's who are you willing to be right now.
Right.
So anything tied to old roles, relationship patterns, I've always been this way.
Yep.
Okay, so we're the last week of April in 2026. This applies to everybody. You are not exempt if you're listening to this. This
Mm-hmm.
applies to everybody. We heard one of those ladies talking about you can no longer be in your own victimness
Yep.
anymore. Like she said, imagine a treasure chest filled of all of your old garbage. It's time to empty it. And number 3 is to courage over comfort. It's not about chaos. Like for us in that moment, it could have been chaotic, right? You could have
Yeah.
been like totally like stressed out and worried that like it had to be perfect or anything, and you didn't. You just stayed in your zone, in
Mm-hmm.
your own frequency, and you were just you, which is so beautiful because that was the life force trying to move through you instead of what you controlling it.
Right. Yeah. I would like to say something to the listeners. One of the things that's been hard for me is just knowing what to do. How do you change your frequency? I've listened to, Ram Dass, Michael Singer, so many people. Miss Michelle out in California, she talked about her frequency and keeping the frequency right. And you think, I'm in where I've came from in my awakening. I would think to myself, how do I change my frequency? And I want to share with y'all something that I put in place that has helped me. I honestly believe this has been my number one tool with changing frequency is my gratitude practice. In my gratitude practice, even when, okay, something goes wrong, how can this get any better? That's the question I ask. And then I make myself look at what all I still have to be thankful for and how blessed I am, even though this circumstance came up. That has really helped me in being able to change my attitude and my frequency to where I am running on a higher path. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's not a light switch. You just don't go over there and hit it and all of a sudden you're at a frequency. Everybody you got to put the work in. Well, that's part of putting the work in is getting to be a person that is more positive than even when something goes wrong, how can this get any better? And then look at the blessings you do have in life. And it changes your outlook. It even changes how you feel. And that's been my biggest tool and being able to run at a higher frequency. And I encourage anybody to start doing that. We're all trying to find our higher selves and be the best version of who I can be, starting with a gratitude practice. Having acknowledgments, at the end of the day, look at the acknowledgments that you have within your life and what you accomplished today. It really helps being able to build your self worth and understand that we're everybody is somebody, and we all matter in a special way. And when we look at ourselves that way, it helps change our frequency, and that's been a big one for me.
And so gratitude, of course, is the highest frequency that exists. It goes right along with that joy, fun, and rewarding. So we leave Sedona. Can I continue the story? And we go to Jerome. Man, we have no idea why we're there. I mean, are you thinking that I'm like a nutball at that point? Like, we're just like, because it was like an hour away and we still had to go to Phoenix, which was 2.5 hours away. And we don't even know why we're there.
No, in other words, we really didn't have any instruction on touch a rock or do anything. So yeah, that's part of that walking by faith, just going knowing that there's a reason behind it.
Yeah. And so we ended up picking up just this cute little badge kind of thing, a fashion situation that went on his coat pocket. I get a lot of hits, if you will, about your attire.
A lot.
Because for me, I see things like I'm shown visuals, and I saw something in your coat pocket, And so we went into this little cute store and we ended up talking to the lady, and they ended up buying this patch thing with a big giant paperclip looking thing that goes on your jacket that would go with your fedora.
Yeah, it goes with my hat.
Yeah.
And when I first saw it, I'm like, "Are you kidding me? She ain't serious. I know she ain't serious. She was serious as a heart attack." Okay. And it ended up being, I mean, knocked it out the park. I put this thing on my coat jacket. We get to the wedding. Yeah,
Yeah.
we show up for the wedding, and she goes on. She's in there with the bridesmaids and doing what all they do, and I'm standing out there all by myself. And here come this other guy, a couple guys, and they walk up, and he says, "Oh, so you're Scottish?" He says, yeah." He says, and and it had to do with that pin that she pinned on me, this little old patch looking thing she pinned on me. He says, "Yeah, I'm Scottish too. I'm from the McClan clan." Just, she knocked it out the park with that. Gave me some color on my coat, kind of made me look
It had a
sharp.
heart on it. It had a
Had a
heart
heart.
and a little swallow on it, and it was like it was stylish.
Stylish, but what do I know about being stylish? T-shirt and blue jeans, and that was always good.
Yeah.
But
But now people were calling him Dapper.
yeah, I was told I was dapper. I was suave. Even the groom don't know the man from Adam. He come up to me and said, "Man, you look sharp. I appreciate you putting the effort into being here tonight like that." But it's just, that's part of finding the higher version of ourselves.
Right.
I'll never forget my principal when I was teaching school in Ocala. She said, "Dress for success. Dress for success." And it
Well,
makes a difference. It
it,
made a difference.
and that's frequency too, right?
Yeah.
Like if you, and look, when we get older, it's easier for us to just get lazy about our attire. And, it's like, how do you be presentable and feel good about yourself at the same time? I'm a creative, so I always have all kinds of flair all over the place, and
Uh,
people make comments on it. And what it does is it's also a connector, right? It connects you to other people. So it's a lot easier to communicate when you have some kind of fun, creative thing on you. But it's also an attractor.
mm.
People are attracted to
Well,
style.
absolutely. Just like my buddy, he's kind of my friend now, the guy that come up and talking about the patch. And, he's from the Scottish McLean clan. I mean, I had no idea what it was. Now we've come to find out that they Scottish, they wear them on their kilts and pin them to their kilts. And, it's just, look at the relationship that formed through that. And, when we get on our journey, they live in Washington State. We plan on making a trip. On our way through Washington, we're going to hook up and meet back up with these guys again.
Yeah. So that was a good example also of flow, meaning, you didn't know anybody.
Nope.
I didn't know anybody either, really. So the wedding was great, except for you got food poisoning, so that was not fun.
No, it wasn't fun, but it was okay. Didn't last long.
Yeah. And then we went and visited my family,
Yeah.
and we'll wrap this up a little like pretty quickly here, but I just wanted to share is that because we were in Sedona and because I had that kind of epiphany that I made people earn love, kind of always had this chip on my shoulder about I'll just keep showing up for people and keep showing up, but it was just like this hurtful space of people who haven't been there for me. And I never really say anything and I never really act on it. And you've talked to me about that. You've said that it's important that I do, but to me I'm a peacekeeper, right? I'd rather just like let them. But because I had that shift in awareness myself, they showed up for me.
Right.
I didn't do anything. It was,
Mm.
I don't know, maybe they were just happy that you were with me, but it felt like a perception shift. It goes back to your inner sanctum when you shift and you do the work within you and you value yourself and your worth and you love yourself. You truly love the being that you are because it's a gift for you to be here. Everybody has a lot of issue with this reality and this humanity version, but it is a gift to have bodies and to be on this planet. And so when you have that loving awareness for yourself, the external world starts to show up for you.
Right.
And it was beautiful. It was a delicious day. And my family was very happy to meet Troy. And we told them about the engagement, and tears were shed and laughter, and it was just beautiful. It was a really beautiful day.
Yeah, beautiful day. Yeah, met your mom, met your brother, and all of it went extremely well. You're kind of in when the mother-in-law puts you to work. But it was all good.
Yeah. So this is what love feels like when it's not forced.
There you go. Not forced.
It's peaceful. And so I just want to share with everybody out there that, flow isn't something you do. It's not something that's outside of you. It's the alignment,
Right.
and I think did you already talk about Jesus
hmm
and how
Yeah, I
he was
mean,
in
him
flow?
being in alignment all the time.
Mm.
He even said, birds have nests, foxes have holes, but I have nowhere to lay my head. Meaning he didn't have a home, a bed but yet all of his needs were always met, and everything was right on time every time with him. And that's being in flow. That's all it is being in flow.
And
It,
present.
and being in the present moment, and you know always looking at anything coming your way for an opportunity.
And so being in that present moment, I mean, how comfortable are you now versus where you were before, do you think?
Absolutely, I'm 100% more comfortable. I wake up, and I know, it's good to be punctual. It's good to be, and not that I strive to be late for work, but if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. It's all good. It'll be there when I get there, and it'll be there after I'm gone. I mean, when you own your own business, it's not like punching a clock for a company you work for. So if you punch a clock, I don't recommend you being late. But not that I'm late. I mean, when you own it, you kind of come and go as you want to. Used
Mm.
to. That's the thing about it. My business used to own me,
Mhm.
and it used to run me, but no more. I run it,
Yeah.
and when I'm done, I'm done. I shut it off. It'll be there tomorrow.
Well, and that's like your life, right? That is what's being in flow, and we could probably talk about this forever. It's my favorite topic. Being in flow is choosing and making the choice to what lights you up. What's fun and rewarding in that moment. And if it's not, then don't choose it because it's your life. And when you choose in the present moment, that's when the magic comes. That's
Right?
when the gifts come. That's when, like, everywhere that Troy went on this trip, there was money on the ground.
Yeah.
Everywhere he
Everywhere.
went, just gifts were like shared with us, meals were bought for us. We didn't really spend very
No,
much money on this trip with the exception of,
the airfare, the rental car, but
yeah. And so how do you feel now that we've come home from the trip? That has it translated into your day today?
yeah, absolutely. Like you said, just staying in the present moment. My thing is looking for, it's like the person at the gas station that slows you up while you're needing to get up there and get fuel. I mean, just sit back and relax, take a deep breath, and realize there's liable to be an opportunity come out of that. Scripture says, "For we know all things work together for the good, whether it's bad or whether it's a good situation. Either way, it's going to work out for the good for those that are called according to his purpose." I mean, look for the opportunities, but in order to look for the opportunities, you got to be able to stay in the present moment and just be willing to go with the flow. We get our day mapped out to where we think, okay, here I got to turn right, then I got to turn left, then I got to go straight. Well, when you do that and you set that kind of course for your day,
You're controlling the
you're
situation.
controlling the situation and not staying in flow and allowing other things to be able to come in.
Right.
It's not about controlling. It's about just being present and allowing it to happen, just as Jesus did.
Yeah. And so right before we wrap up, we like to put things in the fire. And I just want to close by saying that the state of our country, our world right now, it's going to have two paths. You're going to have one path, which is on the way to enlightenment, which we call the new earth. And there are people like us that are sharing these campfire conversations with you because we want you to join us because where we're going is the destiny that light workers have been visioning and seeing our whole lives. This is why we came here, is to create this path of peace. And if you decide that this whole show is hogwash and you can't line up, that's great. Nobody's judging you for that. I will say, however, it's going to be a rougher road because if you stay in the control and not in the present moment, then you will get left behind because it will get worse for you. The chaos will get louder, and the only way forward is through your own inner journey. I promise you that. And wherever you need to get the information, please do. Because those of us that are listening to the call, and we're all in this. This is not just like you and I. Like
Everybody.
everybody is in it. And they say that people who are not even awake are getting it even harder right now. Like it's coming, like it's time to wake up. But we're all in this together, joining around the campfire to talk about it because it's like we got to talk with each other about it. We
Right.
can't just stay isolated. We talked to my brother and my sister-in-law about these deeper conversations, which can be scary, right? It can be scary to tell people how you really feel, but as they will say, I'm the most authentic person that they know. I'm just going to tell you how I feel because I want to know how you feel. I want to know what's going on so
Right.
that I can explore where we're going in partnership as family, as friends, right? Like, what do you think about what's going on? I don't know. I'm just crazy curious. I love talking about that. So with that, is there anything that you want to say before we?
Yeah. What I want to bring to the fire this week is I listened to Ram Dass today, and it just kind of spoke to me about the way that I judge myself, which is a bad thing to do. In other words, I don't need to judge myself incorrectly. And he was coming from the point that we are our own worst critics. But because we judge ourselves that way, we start judging others that way. It starts at home. And I want to throw that judgmental spirit in the fire to myself and to others. And, I want to be loving awareness. And that's got to start with me before it can overflow into everybody else. And just want to do away with the judgment. I want to throw it in the fire and let it go up in smoke.
Because you're a beautiful being of light, an amazing soul.
Thank you, baby doll.
I mean, we all are, but you for sure. But there is no space for judgment.
Right. None.
I love that you said that.
Yeah. How about you? What are you bringing to the fire this week?
It's so nice to be on this side of everything and to get excited about our future. Although I will say at this moment, it's still a full faith walk.
Yeah.
We have no idea how it's all going to come together. We have our intentions and we have our ideas about it. We have our plans, and I am feverishly every day working on this podcast, the website, and also building the trailer and painting, and just I'm a creative machine right now. And I feel proud. So instead of releasing something to the fire, I'm putting in the fire the potency and the strength with vigor to close this out with ease and grace, and
Ease and
to leave. I mean, I have to take down a 4-bedroom house. We're selling everything in the house. Like, I'm actually doing like 80 things right now and making yummy dinners for you at the
Yeah,
same
yummy
time.
dinner, steak, and yeah, it was good.
So I'm just proud. I'm going to use the fire to amplify the good work that I have done for myself and continue to do, because when we leave, I will be able to take a breath. And from that moment, I will be able to be connected and to be fully in the unknown, which I cannot wait. I am so
Right.
excited about that. And so it's just this diligent walk and path to that. And I know that time is flying by so fast. And so I'm so, so grateful for the peace and the connection to you
Mm.
and the love that we have on this side. It just feels so juicy and so good. And I'm really so looking forward to it. And so, yeah, I'm going to use the fire to like boost it up. and to
Cool.
just get it all done and to call in the ease and grace of everything that we needed to happen, that it turns out far, far greater than we can imagine. What a dream.
It sure is. To be able to be sojourners
Be sojourners.
on our path, seeking our way.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're going to say goodbye, sign off, love and light,
Ease and grace.
and may your inner fire guide your way. Peace and blessings.
Good night.